This is Lusher Doyle. Part of our motto at Doyle's Elite Martial Arts is thoughtfulness. What is thoughtfulness? Well, I'd like to go to Scripture for a true definition. There is a Hebrew word known as Hessed. It translates to loving kindness. Now think about that. Loving kindness. I have a story that I want to read to you from the website Good Time Stories. The stories of a man, Andrew, who is known all his life for selfless sacrifice and good works. He always stood in defense of the defenseless and toiled without tiring, standing up for the downtrodden and the underprivileged. As he grew old and people tried to honor him for his well-lived life of service, he was reluctant to accept the praise and attention that his community desired to heap upon him. It was then, for the first time, that he told a story that had burned deep in his heart and was hard for him to relate. See, when Andrew was a young man, 13 years old and living in Austria, when the Germans invaded, the Austrians, who were brave and proud people, decided to fight back in the town where Andrew lived, and the men and the teenage boys organized and destroyed a power plant that the Germans relied on to continue their war effort. The men and boys all knew this would cause great hardship on themselves as well, for they relied on the power from the plant. But the thing they had not counted on was the swift and severe retribution that would come from the Nazi invaders. The next morning, before the sun was even up, trucks rolled into the town. Soon the sound of marching soldiers was heard in the streets. The men and boys of the town, 12 years and older, were ordered to the town square. Andrew found himself standing in line with the other men and boys, still trying to wipe the sleep from his eyes. The commanding officer berated them and told them they were fools to think they could stand against the might of the German army. He told them they were nothing and their minuscule efforts would not slow down the German war effort, but it would hurt them because a price was going to be paid for their rebellion. He then said that every 20th man in the line would be shot. As each 20th man was pulled from the line and marched away, Andrew looked down on the line and started counting. With horror, he realized he stood in the 20th position. He trembled with fear as the soldiers moved close and closer to him, and the shots started to ring out at the edge of town where the unfortunate men were being taken. As the Germans continued to move down the line, Andrew could see others counting and their eyes turning to him with a look of pity and concern. Andrew found himself wanting to flee, but too frightened to move. Even if he tried to run, the soldiers on the trucks with mounted machine guns would cut him down before he could get 10 yards. But then, in the instant that the last man before Andrew was pulled from the line, the Germans turned their eyes away, and Andrew felt a hand on his shoulder. The hand tightened quickly, and before he knew what happened, he was jerked forcibly over one spot, and the old man who had been standing next to him moved swiftly to switch positions. Andrew looked up at the silver-haired man, and the man smiled. Just before he was taken from the line and led away, the old man spoke quietly to Andrew. "Your life is no longer just your own. Live it for both of us." Andrew watched silently as the old man disappeared from view toward the edge of the village. His heart jumped as the shots sounded out, the shots that Andrew knew should have been his own. In that instant, tears flowing down his face, he determined he would indeed live his life for both of them. From that day, he had tried to live so that the unknown old man would have felt his sacrifice was well repaid. The thoughtfulness of the old man is a lesson in Hessed. Are you being thoughtful of others? A black belt always considers his classmates, parents, relatives, and even strangers before he considers himself. In another day, it was called manners, chivalry, the Boy Scout attitude. Let's bring that tradition back, shall we? Be thoughtful of others and watch how that service will enhance your day-to-day life. Hessed is meant to teach us that loving kindness is the path of peace. Find us on Facebook at Doyle's Elite Martial Arts, on Twitter and Instagram at the number 5, and then Ancestor Fist. Don't stop training.